Hey, I'm Pamela. I'm very excited for today's video. Today we're going to be discussing 50 Stu clues. 50 clues that hint towards Stu Macher from the Scream franchise still being alive. If you know me, you know I'm a Stu believer. I fully believe that he is still alive and will in fact return in Scream 7. I did a video a while back called 20 Stu clues, and I have since added 30 more. But before we get into the 50 clues, please give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of my future posts. You can also follow me over on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. And I did just launch a Patreon page if you'd like to sign up for that as well. Alright, let's get into it. So my theory is that Stu Macher faked his death, he's still alive, and his parents paid off the police to cover it up. His parents obviously had money, and it was a small town, and police are often corrupt, as Gail even says in Scream 6. We know that Stu was originally meant to return in Scream 3, so that alone just proves that it's completely possible that he could survive his injuries from the first movie. I feel like most people's problem with this theory is that so much time has passed. But we have to remember that this is a fictional movie and anything can happen. I believe that he will return in Scream 7 and be leading this cult of ghost faces, which was the original plan for Scream 3. In today's video, I am going to walk you through all the clues that point towards Stu still being alive. And you'll definitely want to stay till the end because I am going in chronological order of the movies. And there were a lot of clues in these newer movies in Scream 5 and Scream 6. So definitely stay till the end because you won't want to miss these clues. So clue number 1, as I already mentioned, he was meant to return in Scream 3. That was the original plan. So that alone just proves that he could very well survive the injuries from the first movie because that was the plan. So the people who argue that he couldn't possibly survive what he went through in the first movie, that's just not true because he was going to survive it if they went that route in Scream 3. Clue number 2. When Sidney pushes the TV onto Stu, he holds up both of his hands before impact, which could definitely help to soften the blow. He braced himself for impact. Clue number 3. Stu was still breathing when it cuts away from him. And back in 2012, someone tweeted at Wes Craven asking if Kirby is really dead. And he said, "I don't think so. She was still moving when we cut away from her." And like I said, after the TV falls on Stu, you can still see him breathing. Clue number 4. As I already mentioned, I believe Stu's rich parents paid the police to cover it up. And at the end of the first movie, when Sidney is in the police car and she calls to the police over the walkie-talkie, she says, "I'm at 261 Turner Lane, Stu Macher's house. He's gonna try and kill me." And there's still a lot more time after that before the police arrive at the very end. So the words spoken by Sidney, it sounds like she's literally saying Stu Macher is trying to kill me. And the fact that so much happens before the police actually arrive, that means the sheriff had time to call his parents and make a plan on how to cover up his involvement. Clue number 5. Stu does say, "I'll be right back." So, he'll be back in Scream 7. Clue number 6. Stu says, "These days you gotta have a sequel." And he never got to carry out his sequel, which would have happened in Scream 3, but it never did. And I do believe that these new creators want to honor that original plan. Stu's gotta have his sequel. Clue number 7. Matthew Lillard does make an appearance in Scream 2 at the college party. Some of you may know this and some of you might not. Matthew Lillard and Neve Campbell were dating at the time, so he was always hanging around on set and they had him play an extra in the background. And he actually hugs Mickey. Now, you can argue that this was probably just a little fun thing for Matthew Lillard to be an extra, but you can also argue that this was meant to be Stu keeping tabs on Sidney. I mean, he does have bleached hair, so if he did fake his death, he would have definitely changed up his appearance. And the fact that he hugged Mickey, maybe he was involved with Mickey, maybe he was helping him out. Maybe Mickey was a member of his cult. Clue number 8. In Scream 2, how did Mrs. Loomis know that Randy had a crush on Sydney? We know that Stu knew that Randy liked Sydney. From the scene in the video store in the first movie, he teases Randy that, "What, is Sydney saving herself for you?" And he laughs at him. And then later at the party, Stu says, "as if." And during that video store scene, it almost seems as if that's the first time that Stu is hearing about Randy liking Sydney. I can't imagine Billy Loomis telling his mom, "Oh, this boy, Randy, has a crush on my girlfriend." I mean, she abandoned him. She wasn't even there. And it seems like Stu was the only one that knows Randy liked Sydney. Mrs. Loomis says to Randy on the phone, "You'll never get the girl." In Scream 2, when Cotton and Sydney are in the library and the police come to take Cotton away, Cotton says, "I'm not Billy Loomis. He's dead. You killed him, remember?" He never says anything about Stu. And at this moment in time, back in 1997, it was still the plan to bring Stu back in Scream 3. So I do think that that was a subtle little hint that Sydney only killed Billy. She did not kill Stu. Which brings me to clue number 10. At the end of Scream 2, Sydney says to Mickey, "You're forgetting one thing about Billy Loomis. I killed him." Once again, does not mention killing Stu. Clue number 11. In Scream 3, when Randy is on video giving the rules of a trilogy, he says, "The past will come back to bite you in the ass. Whatever you think you know about the past, forget it. The past is not at rest. True trilogies are all about going back to the beginning and discovering something that wasn't true from the get-go." Now, obviously, you can consider these new movies to be its own new trilogy. Once Scream 7 comes out, we'll have Scream 5, Scream 6, and Scream 7 as its own trilogy. And obviously, when Randy says, "Whatever you think you know about the past, forget it," that could mean that, we think Stu Macher is dead, but he's actually alive. And these new movies are mirroring the original movies. Scream 5 mirrors Scream 1, Scream 6 mirrors Scream 2. I do believe that Scream 7 will mirror Scream 3, including the original plan for Scream 3, which was Stu returning. And Randy says true trilogies are all about going back to the beginning. So I think that this would be a perfect way to not only wrap up this new trilogy, but to bring it full circle and tie all 7 movies together. Clue number 12. Some people say that Stu could not possibly survive getting electrocuted like that, but we have to remember that in Scream 4, Jill literally got electrocuted and survived it before Sydney finished the job. Sydney hits her with the defibrillator and fries her brain, and Jill still gets up after that. I think that right there could really help prove that Stu could definitely survive getting electrocuted by a TV. Clue number 13. The Scream franchise emphasizes that you have to shoot the killer in the head or else they can always come back. And of course, Stu was not shot in the head, so it's always possible that he can return. Now getting into the clues for Scream 5. Clue number 14. I do believe there's a good chance that Christina Carpenter, Sam and Tara's mom, could be involved with Stu. In the opening scene of Scream 5, when Ghostface is on the phone talking to Tara, Ghostface knew a lot about Christina. And Stu and Christina went to high school together. So if they're still friends after all this time, or possibly dating, he's known her for almost 30 years. So that would explain how Ghostface knew so much about Christina. And Ghostface does say to Tara, "I know her from Group."
"I'm a friend of hers from Group. Tell her I'm from Group."
Could that be implying Stu's cult? Is Christina a part of Stu's cult or leading it with him? And Tara says to Amber over text, "I think this is my mom's new boyfriend." And we know that Christina was in love with Billy Loomis, another serial killer. And Ghostface does say to Tara that Christina loves the movie Stab.
You don't know Stab? Well, your mother loves that movie. She talks about it all the time in group.
Clue number 15. When Ghostface asks Tara if she's ever seen the movie Stab, she responds saying, "That's like super 90s, right?" And Ghostface goes, "Huh."
And it was like super 90s. It was like,
Which could be a reaction like, that's insulting to say. Like, oh, that's super 90s, right? Not only that, but when Tara says that her favorite movie is The Babadook, she says it's elevated horror. And Ghostface says, elevated horror, what's that?
What does that mean, elevated horror?
Which kind of gives the sense that this Ghostface is a little older and out of date with like current terms. Because wouldn't Richie and Amber know what elevated horror is? This was something that was pointed out by Craven Something Scary here on YouTube. Clue number 16. Both Casey Becker from the first movie and Tara in the opening scene of 5 get bonus questions from Ghostface. In the first movie, after Casey gets the Jason Voorhees question wrong, Ghostface says, "Lucky for you, there's a bonus round."
Lucky for you, there's a bonus round.
And asks, "Which door am I standing at?"
What door am I at?
And for Tara's bonus question,
It
was, "Do you think I made it into your house before you could rearm?"
You think I made it inside your house before you could rearm?
So not only do they each get a bonus question, but their bonus questions are a little similar in a way. Casey's was, "Which door am I standing at?" And Tara's question was, "Do you think I made it into your house before you could lock your doors again?" Obviously, Stu was present for Casey's phone call, and I think he was the one that was on the phone with Tara. So just another similarity there. Clue number 17. While Tara's on the phone with Ghostface, she forgets about Stu Macher, and Ghostface sounds insulted. Ghostface asks her, "Who's the killer in Stab?" And she says, "Billy Loomis." And Ghostface says, "Wrong, there were 2 killers, Billy Loomis and Stu Macher."
Billy Loomis and Stu Macher. There are 2 killers in the original Stab.
Ghostface sounds insulted that Tara forgot about Stu. Clue number 18. In Scream 5, when Richie is watching YouTube on his laptop, there's a little suggested video in the corner, and it says, "Did the real-life Stu Macher survive?" That right there proves it's a mystery within the movies themselves, and there could be some truth to it. Clue number 19. Chad's girlfriend Liv also forgets about Stu Macher. When everyone's hanging out and Mindy's giving the rules for surviving a horror movie, Liv asks, "Who's Stu Macher?" Like, first of all, how could you not even know? Because you live in Woodsboro and you dated Vince, Stu's nephew. Stu is just constantly getting erased from the story, which can support the theory that the police covered up his involvement. Clue number 20. In that same scene from Scream 5, in response to Liv asking who's Stu Macher, Dewey refers to Stu in the present tense. Dewey responds to Liv saying, "He's Billy Loomis's accomplice, a real Looney Tune." He said he is rather than he was. And Dewey was a Woodsboro police officer, so did he know about Stu surviving? Maybe keeping that secret all those years ate away at him. And it's why he turned to alcohol and explains why he could never make it work with Gail. Because keeping that big secret from her really just ate away at him. It could also explain why he immediately hopped on a flight to see Sydney at college in Scream 2. Maybe he thought it was Stu again. Clue number 21. Dewey's death in Scream 5 is extremely questionable. First of all, Amber's height does not match. I know the creators say not to look at the height, but I personally don't think that's fair to the audience in a whodunit. In the first movie at the fountain scene, Sydney asks, "How do you gut someone?" And Stu says, "You take a knife and slit him from groin to sternum." And that's what happened to Dewey. Stu also says it takes a man to do something like that. Amber's kill style is very frantic and very stabby. and she's usually not successful in killing her victims. You know, like with Chad outside of the party, she stabs him a bunch of times and he survives. Dewey's death was very clean and efficient. We know that later in the movie, Amber does take credit for Dewey's death, but as I mentioned earlier, I believe Stu is leading a cult of ghost faces. So it makes sense that Amber would take credit for Dewey's kill to protect Stu as the leader of the cult, and to not reveal yet that he is in fact alive. Clue number 22. Before Dewey's death scene, right before Ghostface shows up, Richie shows up first and she hits him with the phone. And he says, "Did you just hit me with the phone?"
Ow! Did you hit me with the phone?
Which is a callback to Stu in the original movie, saying, "You hit me with the phone, dick."
Like you hit me with the phone, dick!
So I think that was a nice clue thrown in by the writers to already get the audience thinking about Stu right before Ghostface shows up to kill Dewey. Clue number 23. Richie and Amber say that they met on a message board, which I think is where Stu is leading his cult of ghost faces and recruiting people. Stu did say his motive was peer pressure, and now he's peer pressuring the next generation. You know, passing on that generational trauma. Clue number 24. Amber says she was radicalized and just wanted to be a part of something. That right there screams cult to me. She wanted to be a part of something, and cults have these beliefs and a mission that they want to carry out. Clue number 25. Amber says that's the problem with the stab movies. No bad guy to keep coming back. No Michael Myers or Jason Voorhees. And I believe that that's what Stu will be for the Scream franchise. A killer from the past coming back. Which leads me to clue number 26. Halloween was on the TV when it landed on Stu. Will he be the next Michael Myers? Amber did say that's the problem with the stab movies. No Michael Myers to keep coming back. Now getting into the clues for Scream 6. Clue number 27. In Scream 6's opening scene, Jason says we have to finish Richie's movie. If the rumor is that Sam was responsible for the Woodsboro murders the year before, how did Jason know Richie was actually responsible? I think he met Richie on that same message board that Richie and Amber met on, and I think Richie, Amber, Jason, and Greg are all part of Stu's cult. Clue number 28. Like I mentioned in the intro, in Scream 6, Gail says police are often corrupt and like money.
Well, cops like money.
Which can support my theory that the police were paid to cover it up. Looking at you, Sheriff Burke. Clue number 29. In Scream 6, when Mindy is giving her rules speech, she says, "We're not in a sequel, we're in a franchise." And in Scream 2, the third rule from Randy, which gets cut off in the movie but is revealed in the trailer, Randy says if you want your sequel to become a franchise, never ever assume the killer is dead. So, Randy says if you want your sequel to become a franchise, never assume the killer is dead. And Mindy says we're not in a sequel, we're in a franchise. So you can never assume that Stu Macher is actually dead. Now these next few clues are going to be about Gail's attack in Scream 6. Gail's attack is also very questionable, just like Dewey's was in Scream 5. And it's funny how both questionable attacks are legacy characters. Clue number 30. During Gail's attack, Ghostface is wearing Stu Macher's mask. Obviously we know Quinn takes credit for this attack, but I believe this was really Stu again. Clue number 31. How did Ghostface know that Gail has never talked on the phone with Ghostface? Ghostface says, "Funny how you and I have never talked on the phone." This seems like Stu, who's been around since '96 and has kind of been running things from behind the scenes, would know something like that. Clue number 32. Gail asks Ghostface, "Why bother with me at all?" And Ghostface says, "Call it nostalgia."
Call it nostalgia.
I take that as another Stu clue because obviously he would be nostalgic for a a time where he faced off with Gale in the past from the first movie. Clue number 33. On the phone with Gale, Ghostface asks a lot of questions about Sydney. And as we know, Stu always had a thing for Sid. I just don't see why Quinn would be so interested in Sydney. I mean, wouldn't she be more interested in Sam, since Sam's the one who killed her brother? I don't know. Clue number 34. During Gale's attack scene in Scream 6, she calls Ghostface a dipshit on the phone.
It never works out for the dip in the mask.
And in the original movie, Gale calls Stu a dipshit.
Stumbles on you two dipshit.
And Billy also calls Stu a dipshit.
Why did you dip?
So that's two different characters who called Stu a dipshit. And I really don't think any other character in the franchise has ever been called that. And I definitely don't think Gale has ever used that word in any other scene besides the first movie to Stu. So I think Gale calling Ghostface a dipshit in Scream 6 was a clever clue snuck in there by the writer Guy Busick, who is a Stu believer and wants to bring him back. Clue number 35. In Scream 6, Gale points a gun at Ghostface just like she does with Stu in the first movie. And while pointing the gun, she says, "How's that for nostalgia?"
How's that for nostalgia?
Implying that this is a callback to the first movie when she pointed a gun at Stu. Clue number 36. And this one was found by Marcus from I Shot Him 6 Times. On the phone with Gale, Ghostface says Richie and Amber carved Dewey up like a Christmas goose.
Carved him up like a Christmas goose.
And in the first movie, Stu says, "Look at this place, it's like Christmas."
Are you kidding me? Look at this place. It's like Christmas.
I think this is another subtle clue snuck in there by the writer. Clue number 37. How was Quinn able to overpower Brooks, who is clearly in very good shape? And how could she possibly throw his dead weight body through the glass? Ghostface even emphasizes that Brooks had muscles. Ghostface says, guess his muscles didn't really help him much. Just like Stu said in the original, it takes a man to do something like that. I do believe it would take a man to overpower Brooks and throw his dead weight body through the glass like that. I'm sorry, but I just cannot picture Quinn doing that. She's a small girl. And Brooks was kind of an unnecessary character. He didn't have any lines. He didn't need to be in that scene at all. And I feel like he was just added to the scene to make us question Quinn's capability. The creators know we already questioned Dewey's death scene. So I think they purposely added Brooks to be like, hey, pay attention to this. And the way Ghostface runs and jumps off the couch, I just can't picture little old Quinn doing all of that. Clue number 38. Gale hits Ghostface with a cast iron skillet. Why didn't Quinn have any bruising or swelling at the end of the movie? Or a concussion? Clue number 39. When Ghostface attacks Gale, they do Stu Macher's signature move of 2 hands above the head. There are several scenes in the first movie where we know it was Stu doing that move. We have Sydney's first attack at her house, which we know was Stu because we can hear Ghostface saying, "Easy, easy," as he runs up the stairs, which we can hear Stu saying the very next day at school. When Tatum smacks him on the forehead with her lollipop, he says, "Easy." We can see Stu doing his signature move again when he attacks Billy, and the scene behind Randy on the couch. So we know that this is Stu Macher's signature move, and Ghostface does this in what is an already questionable scene. Clue number 40, and this one is a really good one. If this one doesn't convince you, then I don't know what will. This one was also found by Marcus from I Shot Him 6 Times. He's really good at finding some of these clues. So in this same Gale attack scene in Scream 6, we can see the phone number on the phone when she gets a call. And the area code is 707, which is confirmed to be the Woodsboro area code. This was previously established in Scream 5 because we see Amber's phone number and Wes Hicks' phone number. Both of them are from Woodsboro and both have a 707 area code. If the Bailey family were using Richie's phone, Richie is not from Woodsboro. He was living in Modesto where the area code is 209. Plus, the creators confirmed in an interview that the Bailey family is from the Midwest. So none of them are from Woodsboro. But who is? Stu. I mean, really, how do you explain the Woodsboro area code? Clue number 41. I believe Gail survived this scene because she was part of the final showdown with Stu in the first movie. So she needs to face off with Stu again, unlike Dewey. Dewey was not there for the final showdown with Stu, so in a way that's kind of why he didn't need to survive. But Gail originally faced off with Stu at the end of the first movie. So I think when the time comes in Scream 7 and Stu returns, they're gonna face off again. Clue number 42. Quinn fakes her death and then says Stu Macher was her favorite, and she has his mask. So this tells me she learned to fake her death from Stu. The fact that Quinn faked her death literally proves that it's extremely possible in this franchise to fake your death. Even Roman did it in Scream 3, and Billy briefly did it in the first movie also. So Billy could have taken pointers from Roman, Stu in a way copied Billy, and Quinn learned from Stu. Clue number 43. I think these new characters like Chad surviving crazy injuries is to make it more believable for the audience to believe that Stu could survive his injuries from the first movie. I mean, look at what Tara in Scream 5's opening scene survived. And again in Scream 6, Tara gets stabbed in the final act and she's not even phased. She literally doesn't even fall down. She even gets shot in the arm. And she's just fine at the end. Sam gets stabbed. Look at what Mindy survived. I mean, look at what happened to her on the train, on the subway scene, and then she just comes running at the end of the movie like it's nothing. I think the creators have purposely changed the standards of what you can survive to make it more believable that Stu could survive 4 stab wounds and a TV to the head. I mean, that's absolutely nothing compared to what Chad survived. Clue number 44. At the end of Scream 6, Kirby was able to throw the TV at Ethan. So that just tells me that it really doesn't weigh all that much. I mean, if Kirby can just throw it like it's nothing, it's not like it fully crushed Stu's head. Clue number 45. Stu's final act sweater is not in the Scream 6 shrine, but Billy's white t-shirt is. Yes, his ghost face robe is there, and also his red robe, but not the sweater that he supposedly died in. Wouldn't it be there with Billy's white t-shirt that Billy died in? I think that's another really big clue right there. Stu was taken away somewhere in the same sweater that he was last seen wearing. Clue number 46. Mindy and Kirby discussing the theory about Stu Macher shows that there is some truth to it and that it's a debate amongst the characters. And it's a mystery within the movie itself. When Kirby says the TV that killed Stu Macher, Mindy says, if you believe he's really dead, and Kirby does not argue with her there. And she gives her a little look.
You believe he's dead?
And Kirby is part of the FBI, so does she know something since she's police? And, the police covered it up, so maybe she has some inside information. I mean, wouldn't Kirby say, oh no, he's really dead? I just think that look that she gave Kirby was very suspicious. And I already know there's going to be comments about the fact that the police board had Stu's death date. It said death 1996, but that's only because it is widely believed that Stu is dead. So that's my explanation for that. Clue number 47. In that same conversation between Mindy and Kirby, Kirby says she died for 4 minutes. I think that dialogue was added intentionally to prove that Stu could survive too. As I mentioned earlier, Wes Craven said Kirby was still moving as they cut away from her, and then she dies briefly. So who knows? Maybe Stu briefly died for a couple of minutes and they revived him, or he just woke up again. It's obviously possible if it was possible for Kirby. Clue number 48. This is another one that was pointed out by Craven Something Scary. In the shrine in Scream 6, we know that there's all these different drawings of past crime scenes and past characters. You know, we see the drawing of Charlie Walker, Jill Roberts. We even see the drawing of Dewey. And there's also one for Principal Himbry from the first movie. And it shows Principal Himbry lying there dead, which we see in the first movie. But only someone who was there would know what that crime scene looked like. Because when Himbry was found, he was hanging from the goalposts on the football field, which we also see in the drawing. But when it shows Principal Himbry lying on the floor of his office, only someone that was there would know about that. And we know that Stu killed Principal Himbry because we see him head back towards the school after he leaves Sydney and Tatum outside. There's no way that Richie could have known that because, like I said, Himbry was found hanging from the goalpost. So either Stu drew it himself or he described what it looked like to Richie. Richie could not have drawn that on his own like that. I think that's another really good clue. Clue number 49. One of the promotional posters for Scream 6 shows the subway map in the shape of Ghostface, and there's all these different characters on it, some with a white dot, but Stu's subway stop is colored a weird shade of pink. It's not white and it's not X'd out. I think that is very suspicious. What does it mean? It definitely means something. I don't know. What do you guys think that one means? And finally, the final clue, clue number 50, Stu's last name. We know his last name is Macher, and I think that this is an important clue. I was watching a TV show recently, and someone used the word Macher as a noun to describe someone. And I had never heard that before, so I Googled the definition, and the definition of a Macher is a person who is influential and important, kind of like a cult leader who influences his followers and important, like his cult members look up to him. I believe that when Kevin Williamson wrote the first movie, he had like an outline for the trilogy. So it's possible that he already had this plan to bring back Stu to lead the cult of ghost faces. Like I said, that was the original plan for Scream 3. So did Kevin Williamson intentionally give Stu the last name of Macher, knowing that he was going to bring him back for Scream 3? There you have it. Those are 50 clues that point towards Stu Macher from the Scream franchise still being alive. Let me know what you guys think. Leave a comment down below. Can you think of any more clues that I missed? I'm sure there's definitely a few more that I didn't mention. I'm so excited for Scream 7, and I'm so happy that the writer's strike has come to an end, so we can get the ball rolling on the next movie. I'm very confident that Stu Macher will return. All the signs are there. They've really just been planting the seeds, especially in Scream 5 and Scream 6. I do believe that these new creators want to honor that original plan. And there's so many Scream actors who are on board for this. Matthew Lillard himself has been very vocal about this for years. He wants Stu to return. He fully believes that Stu's alive. There's several different interviews where he says that Stu could very well survive. I know Skeet Ulrich is in support of his friend, Matthew Lillard. Melissa Barrera, our star of the new movie, has even said that this is her favorite fan theory that she wants to see come true, and that anything is possible. Even Jamie Kennedy, who plays Randy Meeks, said a couple months ago at a fan convention that he believes Stu is alive. We have so many of the Scream actors on board. We even have one of the writers, Guy Busick, on board. And I just think that this would be the most satisfying way to wrap up this story. I mean, even Amber Freeman said that's the problem with the Stab movies, no bad guy to keep coming back. This is what these horror franchises do. The killer comes back. I mean, do you really want to see another new Ghostface? It's been done 6 times. We need a past killer to come back. I think it would be crazy if it happens. And some people say like, oh, but everyone's expecting it, so won't it not be shocking? I disagree. Even though I'm fully expecting it, my mind will still be blown if they pull this off. Thanks so much for tuning into another video. Please give this video a like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And share this video with another Stu believer, or even non-Stu believers, so that maybe we can convince them and get them on board. You guys can also follow me over on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram, and I will see you guys in the next video.